You were not meant to be a slave to the grind. You were not meant to trade your life force for money. You can escape gravity. You can unlock your life. You got this. Let's go.
Hello and welcome to Unlock Your Life. I'm your host, Jennings Smith. I was standing in line at the gas station and I work out a couple times a week, and there's a gas station on the way home and they sell this protein drink. And I stop by there and I get a protein shake every time I work out, and I get in line and they sell lottery tickets. And there's always a line of people buying lottery tickets. Some are buying the scratchers, some are buying the Powerball. And the Powerball was huge. It was at $1.2 billion. I don't know if you follow Powerball, but if you do, you know it went up to $1.2 billion. And the winner was going to walk away with almost $700 million net after taxes and all the fees and everything else. He's going to walk away with $700 million. And somebody won that. And they revealed their identity. So we'll see how they do. But everybody in line had the goal of winning the $1.2 billion, right? Every single person that was buying a ticket, and I don't know how many millions and millions of people bought these Powerball tickets, but every single person, why did they buy them? You know, they didn't buy them to give the state money, give the government money to just buy something that there was no chance of them winning. They all bought it because they had a dream and they had a goal. And the goal was, I'm going to win this contest. They're going to draw my numbers. The stars are going to align. God's going to shine down on me and I'm going to win $700 million. And if you're watching this clip, you know that I'm wearing a Clemson shirt. If you're listening to it, I'm wearing a Clemson sweatshirt, and I'm a Clemson fan. I went to Clemson, and same sort of thing. Every year, all of the NCAA teams come out there and they have the goal to win the Natty. They want to win the national championship. They want to make it to the playoffs. They want to win their division. So Clemson's in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and if they beat everybody in the ACC, they go to the playoffs. There's usually 4 teams, and they'll beat, Ohio State, which my wife's from Ohio, so I always give her family a hard time about Clemson beating Ohio State, and then they typically will lose to Alabama. Sometimes they beat them, but sometimes not. But every single team sets out to win the national championship. They have a goal, and Dabo Swinney, the coach of Clemson, had the goal for many, many years. He wanted to win. He wanted Clemson to be an elite program. He wanted Clemson to be good, and they just weren't for a long time. I mean, I went to school in 2000 to 2006, and we never won any championship. We never won any awards. We never made it to any playoffs. We were 6-7 wins at best, but we had the goal. What is the goal? I'm going to tell you one more story, and then I'm going to get to the point of where I'm going. I have a guy. He's in my Facebook group. A couple guys like this, but I'm going to just talk about this guy, and we're going to call him Mo. So Mo, he has a goal. He wants to close his first multifamily deal. He has a dream. He has a job, but he wants to get out of the job. He wants to go into real estate full time, and he wants to amass a portfolio of, a few hundred units this year, maybe 1,000, 2,000 over the next 5 or so years. And he has this goal, and guess what? He is achieving it. He closed his first 30-something unit the other day. He's got more units going under contract. He's making offers. He's raising money. He's getting in the game. He's getting attention, and he's making it happen. And I have another guy, and we'll just call this guy Mark. Mark joined the Deal Room, which is my mentoring and coaching group. He joined that about 2 years ago and pretty quickly dropped out, and then reached out to me, wanted to join again, sent him the payment link, and he never really filled it out, never got in, and he now has missed the entry to the Deal Room until next year. And so both have the same goal, because Mark was reaching out to me because he wants to join, or he wants to buy a multifamily property. He wants to buy his first apartment complex. So does Mo. They both have this goal. They both have this dream. Clemson has the dream, but so does every other team in the NCAA. The lottery winner has the dream, and so does everybody else. And here's my point. Winners have goals. Winners have dreams. Losers have goals. losers have dreams. Winners and losers both have the same goal, right? Both teams have the goal to win the national championship. Both people have the goal of winning the lottery. Both students have the goal of closing their first multifamily deal. Everyone, winners and losers, have the same goals, right? So what is the difference? How do we differentiate ourselves? What separates ourselves from being on the winning side of that equation versus the losing side? And the beautiful thing about business and apartment complexes and real estate is there can be multiple winners, right? There can only be one national championship. There can only be one lottery winner, I think, maybe two. But me winning in real estate doesn't take away from you winning in real estate. Many, many people can win, and me adding value and turning an apartment complex around doesn't mean that you can't do the same thing. Me succeeding doesn't take away from you succeeding. So what is the difference between a goal and a dream that never happens versus someone who has the same goal and the same dream, and yet theirs crystallizes into reality? Back in 2018, I was a far cry from where I am now. It's 2022. If you're listening to this, almost 2023. So 4 years ago, I had a few trailers. I had maybe one or two rental homes. I had no portfolio to speak of. I definitely wasn't making much cash flow. My business was doing all right, but I was not in the same scenario that I'm in now. I'm in a way scraping by because I'm just killing and eating. I'm not building any passive income. I'm not building any long-term wealth. This is 2018. I buy a course. I want to close my first real estate deal, and I see it on the brink of happening, but I'm still not able to really make something concrete happen. So what I did, and this is going to lead into where we're going with this, because this seems a little bit different, a little bit off the beaten path. But I had an addiction. I had an addiction to nicotine. I used to smoke or chew smokeless tobacco. And I would smoke cigarettes occasionally as well, but my main vice was this smokeless tobacco. And these habits, these vices, they can lead to other things, right? You know, because if you're a smoker, you probably aren't really eating too healthy. And if you're not eating too healthy and you're smoking or you're using tobacco, you're probably not working out regularly. And so it's a linchpin habit. It's something that builds on itself. And so what I did in 2019 was I said, I'm going to get off of nicotine. I didn't really understand all the stuff that nicotine was tied to, but I said, I'm going to get off of this skull tobacco. And so I purposed to get off of it, but I knew that I had tried before, right? Winners and losers have the same goal. And listen, I want to clarify, if you haven't reached the goals that you want to reach, that doesn't mean you're a loser, but it does mean that you have lost. Up to this point, you have lost. You have not achieved the goal, right? There's always tomorrow. There's always another chance. There's always a fresh start, and there's always a way to improve and make yourself better. Doesn't mean you're a loser, but let's face facts. You have lost up to this point, and if you continue to do what you're doing, you will continue to lose. You want a different result? Then you've got to do something different. This is where I saw myself. I looked in the cold, glaring light of day at my results, and I hadn't been very successful with kicking the nicotine habit. And so I looked at, what do I need to do here? And something that tied the nicotine to me a lot of times was drinking. So I would go a month, 2 months, maybe even 6 months, and then I would fall off the wagon. And it was a lot of times tied to having a couple beers. You feel a little loose, your willpower is diminished, and boom, you're back on the habit that you don't want to do anymore. So I decided for 2019, not only was I going to kick the habit of nicotine, I was going to kick the habit of alcohol. I was going to stop drinking all year, not because I was an alcoholic, but because it was tied to the nicotine and I wanted to kick that. And so I did that. And as I walked through that year, I realized, I had been using alcohol as a bit of a crutch, when I was stressed out or when I wanted to celebrate something or whatever, and not just living with who my authentic self was, using nicotine to calm stress, using nicotine to calm my nerves. And as I moved beyond that, some incredible things started to happen in 2019. And I closed my first 12 unit. I closed a 42 unit. I closed a 64 unit. I closed an 80 unit. I closed a 90 unit. All in the scope of a year. I closed over 300 units, and I closed my first 3 or 4 deals, which are the absolute hardest to close, getting that momentum going. I also started to work out. I hired a personal trainer. I started working out 3 times a week. I started to make more significant time for my family and build an education company, build a course, build a mentoring program. So the difference between prior failures, right? The difference was my habit. The difference with Clemson from yesteryear to Clemson of today is their habits. The things that they do in and out. They change their habits. They change their outcome. I changed my habits. I changed my outcome. Mo changed his habits of going to work, hanging out on the weekends, watching Netflix and TV and just chilling out to, hey, I've got a weekend. I'm going to cold call brokers. I'm going to raise capital. I'm going to connect with other investors. I'm going to underwrite deals. I'm going to do the work day in, day out, and I'm going to change that habit. Versus Mark, who, yeah, he joined the program briefly, didn't show up to the calls, didn't do the work, didn't apply the principles that was learned, and it didn't work, right? Because there was no habits formed. There was no habits changed. All we are is the sum of our habits. And so even though these people had the same goals, goals are really, really difficult to achieve if you do not change your habits. And so here's where I'm going to get deep with you, and I'm going to give you some actionable advice, something that you can do right now, today, to start making changes. Because you may think, well, Jennings, I'm not there, right? I don't have the money to close deals. I'm working a full-time job. I don't have the habits that I can implement. I'm just not in that scenario. And maybe you're not, right? I get that. We're all on a journey, and there's a time and a place for everything. But here's what I know that you can do. This is what I did. And I did it really without knowing where it was going to lead. And in hindsight, I can see, because I've seen it in other people over and over and again, is when these habits start to be implemented, good things happen because they're keystones. And so my thought to you, my word to you would be, if you don't know where to start, start with yourself. Start inward, okay? Look at your life and think about, what's the one thing that if I could change, it would make a big difference. Maybe you love to sleep in. Maybe you are addicted to your phone, right? Maybe you have some food issues. You're eating too much, or you're eating a lot of fast food, or you're a sweets person, or whatever it is. Maybe you have money issues. Your money runs you. You don't run your money. You're not disciplined in where the money's going. You're spending this on this much, or spending too much on things. You're frittering and wasting money, and you're not living off of a budget and building a disciplined life. Perhaps it could be health. That was one of the big things for me. Health in using tobacco, health in alcohol, health in not working out. That was a big thing. I knew I needed improvement in that point. Could be fear, self-development, self-improvement, investment in yourself. This is something that a lot of people struggle with. They're not willing to invest in themselves. They're not willing to put time, effort, and resources towards that. We're building a social media empire right now. We will have 1 million followers by the end of 2023. I don't know how I'm going to do it exactly, but I know it's going to take work, and I know it's going to take money, and it's going to take investment, and it's going to take the right people and finding them and attracting them. And I know I'm going to be on the edge of investment, and I'm going to be scared. I'm going to be afraid. And that's where the power of habit kicks in. Say, even when I'm afraid, even when I'm scared, I'm still going to invest in this because I know this is the way. I know this is the path. It may be, the time spent on the weekends. Are we spending our time on the weekends sitting in front of the TV, going to the barbecue, medicating ourselves with 4, 5, 6, 10, 12 beers? Or are we pushing our dreams and goals forward inch by inch by inch by inch? There's time for downtime. There's time for celebration. But that's not when you're stuck in the pit. What are you celebrating? If you're stuck where you're at and you're not happy and you're not going where you want to go, this is not the time for celebration. This is not the time for kicking back, relaxing, downtime, me time. This is the time for buckling down getting in the trenches and getting it done, pushing those goals forward with your own blood, sweat, tears, inch by inch if you have to. So where do you start when you know you're not where you want to be, but you don't have a clear path where to go? Look inward, because you have to become the multimillionaire before the multi-millions appear. You have to become the type of person that has those sort of things in their life. You see what I'm saying? When it does not match, things fall apart, right? When you are disciplined, when you're in control of your finances, control of your thoughts, emotions, fear, your relationships, when you're eating healthy, you're working out, you're not addicted to substances. And I know, a lot of people out there, they love weed, and they're smoking marijuana and they're doing the gummies and CBD and all that stuff. And I get it, right? And I think that all things in moderation, but you know yourself, right? And if you're using that as a medicating crutch to feel good about your life, that's a problem, right? You need to build a life that doesn't need to be medicated, that doesn't need to be dulled through alcohol, drugs, tobacco, etc. So look inward and look at these habits that are holding you back. What are they? Because the people that achieve the goals, right? The difference between the winners and the losers, they both have the same dream. They both have the same goals. They both want to be rich. They both want to be successful. They both want to have phenomenal relationships and big businesses. They both want that. The difference is one has habits of excellence, the other doesn't. All we are is the sum of our habits. So if you don't know where to go, if you don't know the direction to take, identify where you can build a habit of excellence. We all have areas in our life that we can improve on. We all have areas that we can work on. We all have things that we can grow in and push towards. And it's not fun always. It's not scary always, but the rewards are there and they'll show up in ways that will surprise you. They'll show up in ways that'll surprise you because they don't seem to be directly tied together. But you look at the product, you look at the modeling of these people and you hang out with them, which I do. I pay a lot of money to be around high-level entrepreneurs, successful people, and they're not out there getting wasted every night. They're not out there going to Taco Bell and doing the things that are not pushing their goals forward. It seems small, it seems insignificant, but the habits are where to start, and they become the key that can unlock your life, unlock the future, unlock potential. It's a slight edge. They all build, they all compound on each other. So remember this, guys, throughout this week. Winners and losers, they both have the same goals. They both have the same dreams. They both want them. But the people that get them are the ones that are committed to those habits that are going to push them towards excellence. So that's what I got for you guys today. Have a great week. Talk soon. Peace.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.